Hello, 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 and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Drams. As always, I am your host, Matt Healy, and I am here tonight with you all over the world. We are episode 15, which is, of course, our 16th episode, if we count that first trial episode as well. So we have come through the whole of 2021. We're now into the first episode of 2022. And of course, the fantastic guys at Irish Malt, the O'Donovan brothers, who bring you Three Drams, have put on another fantastic spread this month. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're a returning Irish whiskey enthusiast or fanatic, you are also very welcome here. As you all know, this is a fantastic space where we'll be able to sample some of the newest and most exciting Irish whiskies from around the world. And these packs literally go to the four corners of the globe. We have people in Canada, Brazil, Japan, and you've got them in Ireland, Germany, all over the continent of Europe, and even a few heading all the way down to Australia. So it's a fantastic way for people around the world to get to try whiskies that perhaps they have not seen before, new to the market, or maybe even in limited release. Of course, this evening I'm seeing lots and lots of people in the comments section, people joining in from Dublin. A few people wishing us a happy new year. This is the first episode of the year, but I think I'm going to say this once and that's it. I'm not saying happy new year again. Right, it's the end of January. We're past it this way, but I am seeing people from Maynooth and Galway and Killarney and Dundalk. A very big Irish representation here. We've got Crumlin. Of course, a lot of different people joining us from around the world. And it's always fantastic to see. As always, we have three whiskies tonight. We do have the fantastic Spanish Earl. We have May-Lóag triple cask. And then we also have the Colla 11-year-old. And as we're tasting through, guys, you are meeting the makers and flavor creators of these whiskeys. So it is your opportunity to ask them the questions you've always wanted to know. You can ask them the things that make their businesses tick. How do they get the flavors in their minds? How did you come up with the idea of putting horns on the cork of your bottle of whiskey? It is for your place to be able to ask them what you want to know about the whiskeys. And of course, when you're sampling, let us know as well what you're tasting as we're going along, because everyone's taste is subjective. Everyone's favorite whiskeys will be different. And we will ask you at the end to give us a little rating as your 1, 2, and 3 of the evening, because guaranteed there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of different permutations of those. Now, I will say we have, as I said, three fantastic guests. As always, they're flavor creators and the makers of these brands. Some new, some brands have been here before with some fantastic different expressions. But I am delighted to welcome our first guest on this evening, Mr. Colin Ross from Kinsale Spirits. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing? How are you keeping?
I am doing quite well. And how about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Look, busy. Things are hectic, which is a good sign, I suppose.
Exactly.
There's an insatiable thirst out there at the moment, so we're doing our best to get our chunk of it. But things are very upbeat. We had a great year last year. We launched two more whiskies. We have another two on the water at the moment to the States. Another two launching there. So by the end of the year, we should have at least 4. Plus the cask strength red Earl that's available through Irish Malts. We'll probably do a couple of cask strength releases as well. So look, it's important to keep moving, but we also want to make sure the brands we have are successful. So there's a healthy, stress between all the different things driving the business.
Exactly. Well, before we jump into all of that, I will invite everyone who is sitting here with us tonight with a lovely box. We are on sample number 1 here. I'm going to break the seal. Beautifully packaged. Remember, if you do want to recycle these later when they're all empty, if you remove the cap and the bottle, keep them separate, they'll recycle even better. That's my little pitch for the night. So, Colin, what did you tell us? What are we sampling this evening?
So what we're gonna have today is a new whiskey we just launched in the latter quarter actually of last year. Our first single malt, Spanish Earl. So the viewers may or may not be familiar with Red Earl, which is the first whiskey we launched the year before last, which is a blended Irish whiskey. So there are 3 whiskies in the Battle of Kinsale series. We have Spanish Earl, which we're trying tonight. We have behind me Great Earl, which is our single grain. And then we have what we're trying, Spanish Earl, which is our single malt. So obviously we've gone for an unusual looking label. We've gone for an illustration of the characters from the Battle of Kinsale. So the idea is that those three whiskies, some positive comments going in there. That's nice to see. Those three whiskies are a series based on the historical Battle of Kinsale, where we're based and where we're building our distillery at the moment. They're not necessarily, they're complementary, but they're not necessarily all of the same flavor palette. So some whiskey series, you know, you like one, you like them all. Ours aren't necessarily built that way, if you will. So we've got Red Earl as a blended, accessible whiskey, you know, sessionable. Spanish Earl is also, you know, an easy drink. And then Great Earl is a different kind of whiskey. It's a single grain. I like sipping it. It's more in the style of maybe an American rye. It's excellent in cocktails. It's really built for that kind of market. Single malt, obviously, like we try and people are making cocktails with it, of course, and we have a few recipes ourselves on our website. But it really is a whiskey to be sipped and enjoyed. So, like, just to talk a little bit about the whiskey itself. So, at the moment, and for the foreseeable future, even when we start our own production, hopefully towards the end of the year, this is a source whiskey we buy from Great Northern. We've spent a long time working with Great Northern, and we we're very, very happy with the relationship we have with them. But they, you know, because we've built up a bit of a business with them, and because we're purchasing a bit of whiskey from them, you know, they give us access, I suppose, to some products that maybe aren't on general release. And we've taken our blending ideas to them, and we've said, look, can you do this for us? Can you do that for us? Can you barrel it this way? Can you cask it that way? That kind of stuff. So this is a result of one of those collaborations. So they went away and sourced an Imperial Stout cask for us. We also sourced a 10-year-old Appleton rum casks. And what we did is we took a portion of our malt that was in bourbon, split it out into the two separate casks, and then recombined it. What it gives you is a lovely dark chocolate nose. So the idea of this, I suppose, is to make it a really chocolatey single malt. And it seems to be hitting that mark, because we've had a fair amount of expert tasters now try it. And one person told me it was the most chocolatey single malt they'd ever had, which was on the brief. So we were very happy to hear that. You know, we're looking for dark chocolate, coffee, cream, maybe a hint of Irish cream liqueur. And then you should also be picking up dried fruit, a rumminess maybe. You know, rum and raisin ice cream always comes to mind when I think of Irish cream liqueur and rumminess and fruit together for some reason in my head, but maybe that's stretching it a bit.
Perhaps a wee sample of it now as well. I'll say sláinte.
Absolutely, sláinte. The one brief that we started with is that I suppose when you're blending whiskies, you've got to make them, you've got to love what you're doing, and it's got to be a product that you want to drink yourself. And it's very important for us that we're not interested in the bite and the burn. This isn't a challenging whiskey. It's not supposed to, you know, slap you around the face. It's supposed to caress the throat a bit. So that was also part of the brief. So we like a nice smooth finish. We like the length. It's got a lovely, again, coffee, dark chocolate. I see some interesting comments coming up there. Tiramisu maybe, or tiramisu, whichever way you want to say it. You've got that Irish stout creaminess. We're trying to get that coming through. When you think of dried fruit, you might think of fig, raisin. Some people pick up tropical fruits, ripe banana, that kind of stuff.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're hoping people are getting. And I see some of the comments coming through there, and they seem to be getting the same thing I do.
Exactly.
Color wise, it's a light golden color. We don't do any playing with the color. We also don't have a particular color spec on any of our Battle of Kinsale whiskies. So we basically, whatever happens with nature, that's the way they come out. So,
As the cask intended.
yeah, exactly. So the stout does give that golden finish, whereas with Red Earl, you've got the Rioja barrel. It gives a little pink tinge, similar enough in Great Earl because it's finished in Sangiovese. It's when we do the cask strength release, this is a real beauty because I've obviously tried them all at cask strength, and this, kind of like the Red Earl, it's hard to differentiate actually. This one is at 43% ABV. We gave it a little bit of a kick up from the 40% of the other two whiskies, just to get that whole slightly more indulgent single malt thing going. So
and when it comes to working with these whiskies, I suppose, what is your process when you're deciding on what to bottle at?
There's some kind of simple things where a lot of the whiskies I would drink that I don't make myself. Although there's quite a collection of various samples that I've accumulated over the years from different suppliers. But I mean, I am a great fan of things like Redbreast and so on. And there's so many great whiskeys out there. I think it very much depends on different makers. Different people have different specs. Like I have a lot of whiskies by Teeling in my collection. There's a lot of 46s in there. Not that I would be drinking much whiskey during the week, on a school night or so on. But, I find the stronger whiskies sometimes, I don't tend to water my whiskey. I like to drink it neat. And I find you kind of have to be in a certain humor to drink a stronger whiskey. I find 40% is palatable. It's an easy sip. You can have one watching a movie. It's not overpowering. You can even have a second one without feeling like you're overdoing it. 2 or 3 at 46, sometimes during the weekend, great. It's certainly not going to happen any other time. So that's one of the motivations. The other one is, look, there's a lot of 40% whiskey out there. There's a lot of people comparing at that level. Duty is another big issue. Price. We want to make our whiskies. We want to give people a premium whiskey at an accessible price. So I think putting an extra 3 or 6% does add up. It does add up. I mean, this whiskey is retailing in the independents and Musgrave Store, Super Value, and Centra at €45. We're also going to bring out during the year what we call the double single. So it's got the single malt and the single grain together. But you're talking about €84, €85 for that at retail. That's a lot of money to ask people to pay out. If we push them up by another 3% each, you're up over 90. So we're just trying to respect people's pockets as well. But other whiskies do pick their strength for other reasons. Those are our kind of thoughts, but they don't apply to everybody.
Absolutely. And will this be available across the world, or where are the markets that we're going to be seeing the Spanish Earl?
Yeah, well, it's launched in Ireland, albeit quietly enough before Christmas. We have product bottled and ready to go to the States. So that will be shipping out sometime in February for launch after St. Patrick's Day, because we are launching a new whiskey in the States, a blended whiskey, a standard. We'll call it a standard whiskey, maybe not a premium, before Paddy's Day in the States, Wild Atlantic Irish Whiskey. So we're not in a hurry to over congest our distribution network. But then it will roll out across Europe. Like we're starting to, we've more or less ignored continental Europe up to now, but we have a lot of interest from that part of the world, so we'll be going there. We've agents all over the world looking for product, so we've got to decide where the priorities are because we're still small.
That's very fair. I mean, in terms of that, you've got to do what you can with the manpower that you have. So that's very understandable. And a lot of new distilleries and growing distilleries will, I suppose, target their key markets, and sometimes continental Europe does get left behind a little bit with the eyes of the States. And it's as a man who's been working in the whiskey industry nearly 10 years, continental Europe's a tough slog.
Yeah,
So
well, you have language issues, you have labeling issues, you have different market issues. We deal with a lot of it in the US, although the labels tend to be across the whole country, but the different states have very different attitudes towards alcohol. So that's something, something to be aware of. There's a thirst out there, there's no doubt, particularly for single malts. I see a Germany comment coming up. Germany is a great market, and I lived in Germany for a number of years, and I love doing business in Germany, but it is on the list, and we are actually tackling it at the moment. So we're very keen to see our products move across the globe. We are, as I said, building a distillery at the moment. That distillery will be working on other brands, so pot stills, things like that. These products will continue to be sourced, we imagine, into the medium term, at least, anyway. We have great partners in Great Northern for the whiskey, and we work with West Cork distillers as well for gin, and we have no reason to upset that relationship. So
that makes a lot of sense. And I suppose, how are the plans progressing since we last spoke to you for the distillery in Kinsale?
really, really well. We had our first there's a couple of positive comments coming in about Red Earl. I see. I'm delighted to see those. We had our planning. Our planning went in. As usual, there was a bit of further information that's in. No issues that we foresee, hopefully. So early February, we hope to have the rubber stamp. We've already purchased one still. We've lined up all the other equipment. We have it's a brownfield site, so it's an existing barn on a farm that we're building the distillery in. So it's not going to take us that long to get up and running. Obviously, there's mechanical, electrical, fireproofing, all that sort of stuff has to go on. And then we're building a few interesting features outside the building itself, to cultivate some botanicals, sustainable type of things, and lots of interesting angles to take. And of course, we're on a farm, so we may even grow a little bit of grain.
Listen, that you had to have that grain to glass, or corn to cork, as they say.
Only one release anyway, yeah.
Exactly. And in terms of the stills, can you give us a sneak peek into what kind of volumes you'll be looking at the stills? Or
it's not going to be a big distillery. Like, realistically, we're probably going to do something like 15 to 20 casks a week.
Okay.
It's not going to be huge, but the point is, we're looking to, I suppose, rubber stamp our provenance, that we are distillers, that, some people, we've all heard the scoffing from time to time at the sourced whiskies. Blending is a skill, manufacture is a skill. There's a lot of different skills involved. We're very keen to produce other gins as well. We have an award-winning gin in Kinsale Gin. So that's another angle, but we do feel that we need to actually distill our own product. It leans to the provenance. Jeez, if I could get the words out, of our business, and it's important that consumers trust the brands and believe in the brands and know that we're not just labelers. So that's part of the argument. We're also based in Kinsale, which I'm sure you've been, Matt, at some stage in your life. I hope
certainly have.
Yeah, the Wild Atlantic Way, and it's a beautiful part of the country. It's a great place for people to visit, and we hope that in time people will come and visit us and see the distillery and be able to see, talk to us about plans and what we're doing in the future. So there's a lot of angles to it.
Of course, I mean, in Kinsale, obviously a fantastic spot. I would have been known for frequenting the folk house and maybe a bit of fishy for a bit of grub, but I am happy to hear that you will be, I suppose, at least intending to welcome people, because there's about 6 people asking in the comments right now, will you be creating a visitor center? Will you have tours? Do you know when the distillery is due to open? Will you welcome visitors? Can we come see it? So eagerness in the comments section.
Yeah, it will be down the line. Unfortunately, at the moment we're just building the actual nuts and bolts, the distillery itself. But down the line, we'd love to. I mean, even if it's just people visiting the plant itself, come up for a look. We hope to be able to entertain that. We need to get up and running first, of course. But the plan is a very simple one at the moment. It's just to make some nice liquids.
Well, that's a pretty good plan. You've been I suppose churning away. The Kinsale Spirits Company has been working for a while. You have obviously you're far along in the planning of the distillery. If you could go back to meet yourself when you first decided on this plan and give yourself a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, is there anything you do differently, or you tell your past self, or is there?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I need more preparation for that. The look, I mean, I've said before, and like not to necessarily do with this business, but there is an unfortunate, when you start out with a business or a startup, there's always waste in the system. I remember giving a talk at a business conference years ago, and I said, take your first 50 grand, you get invested and flush it down the toilet, because that's what's going to happen to it anyway. You're going to do something stupid with it, or something's going to go awry, or you're going to make a mistake. But genuinely, yeah, of course we've made errors, but there's nothing major that's gone really, really the wrong way, where we've said, like, yes, we've learned, we've maybe got into partnerships with people that haven't worked out and that kind of stuff. But generally at the start, the three of us sat down. So my two partners, Ernest Cantle and Tom O'Riordan, had started Kinsale Spirit Company and Kinsale Gin first, and they asked me to come on board because I had export experience and so on. One of the first things we did was sit down and make out a strategy, and that has more or less held. So, the general direction of the business is the same. And once you have that in mind, okay, you bounce around it a little bit, and it goes in, but keeping to that, I think, we're happy that we're on the track. We did our projections 3 years ago, and we're hitting them every year. So something is working, right?
There's nothing wrong with that. That's coming from a numbers point of view. That's always great to see.
Yeah. I mean, we had nearly 200% growth last year, and we're looking for something similar this year. But obviously, as the base figure gets bigger, that's a bigger challenge. So
exactly,
we're taking on a team in the US. It's going to be interesting.
Well, fantastic. So I suppose this is the Spanish Earl Irish whiskey. It is bottled at 43%. You said the recommended retail price per bottle is
45.
There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, keep your eyes on Irish malts. And if you are a member of 3 Drams and you have your lovely kit in front of you and you're signed up for this week, of course, remember at the end of this show, you will get an email straight to your inbox. So it'll give you a discount code, not only for this whiskey, but for all of the whiskeys we're tasting this evening. So I could say, listen to Colin, run out, buy it right now. But you could also wait about half an hour, 40 minutes, and then you'll get a discount. So it swings and roundabouts. Colin, if people are looking in for you guys online, is there a website or any social media handles that they could check out?
Yeah, at Kinsale Spirit Co is the main one. Facebook, Instagram, we're very active. We do competitions all the time as well. If people are interested, they can enter those to win goodies and bottles of whiskey or gin. And Kinsale Spirit singular, not plural.com is the website. There's a shop on there as well, but we prefer people to buy through our partners like Irish Malts on this occasion. And exactly. There's other bits and pieces on there. There are some very nice cocktail recipes on the website, worth a look.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Colin. I really appreciate your time. I know it's, as I said, it's a school night, so I appreciate you coming to talk to us. And I said, as always, there's just pushing over 1,800 kits gone out across the world. So whether you're watching live or you're watching back, this is a fantastic opportunity to be able to try a whiskey that launched, you said, at the end of last year. So a first taste for many people, I think, in the comments section. And keep letting us know what you think of this whiskey, because we're going to have a lot of fun seeing all the tasting notes, because again, it is subjective. Taste is a fantastic thing. Well, Colin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, Matt. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. So next, I am delighted to be welcoming back a friend of the show, again, another returning guest, Mr. Mark Craig from May-Lóag Irish Whiskey. This was a whiskey bottle and shape and design that was a sneak peek, a world premiere, a first look on the last time we had the guys on the show. And this incredibly interesting looking bottle is what we're talking about next, the May-Lóag Triple Cask Malt. And I'm delighted to be welcoming Mark Craig to the show. So, Mark, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Conscious this is second time round. Last time was in the summer, and little did I know it getting ready to go on, but I tested positive the next day for COVID. So if anyone looked back and wondered why I'm slightly more chirpy than I was this time last time round, I'd just been grasped by COVID at that time, so I'm a bit more, hopefully a bit more enthusiastic and engaging this time around, and have the brand new shiny bottle that I think everyone was kind of asking me to tease or to tell a bit more about this time around. So, good to have new bottle, new liquids, and as you can see, I'm supporting some merch as well, obviously. So yeah, good to be back and have what seems like forever whenever you first tease a new whiskey and tell everyone out there that it's going to be there. So it does tend to drag on for all sorts of various reasons, and making sure that you get things out in time and through distributors and everything. So good to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Well, firstly, I'm delighted you're well, healthy, chipper, chirpy, and here with us again. I want to, first of all, say to everyone, this is Dram over a go, Tashcon over a go. So number 2, this is your May-Lóag Triple Cask Malt. Now, I'm just getting into the glass. We don't have to deep dive into it straight away, but I just don't like leaving people sitting without spirit in the glass. And I say that as if anyone actually waits for me to pour it into the glass. Half the people watching have already dived into this, but that's fair enough. So do you happen to have a bottle with you there? I can pull up the image again. There's obviously the brand new look of the pack here. May-Lóag Triple Cask Malt in this very unique, very interesting bottle. It has a phenomenal kind of crystal cut design on the bottle itself, which I'm loving. The label is great. The cap's got to be a pain in the ass. I come from the whiskey world, and all I'm thinking is that the overheads has got to be hand bottled. Where's the tamper-proof seal? You guys have come up with such a cool design, and I applaud the pain in the ass it must have been to create it, and I'm delighted it's sitting in front of us because it's utterly one of the most unique looking bottles I've seen on the market.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The cask was a pain in the ass for us, for suppliers, for various people, and that's kind of part of one of the reasons why maybe we were teasing it for a while, and then we had good problems to have. We ordered X amount of caps, and then instantly needed more, and therefore the second batch took a lot longer to arrive, and all those sort of things. But it's a positive result of stubbornness from Steve Murphy, owner of May-Lóag and Old Carrick Mill, in a very positive way. Steve told me this is what the cap is to look like, so we have to do it. And I said that looks like it might be difficult, and had lots of well, we could do it this way, or we could keep the cap for one-offs or various things. But no, I'll go straight into the story behind the cap. As a lot of people sort of see, well, people see one of two things, and that's because there are two reasons for the cap. The first was, if you actually hold it this way, you'll actually see a kind of nod to an industrial bolt, in that there was a wing nut on the floor of the old mill, which I know Colin was talking about, the kind of painstaking notion of getting a distillery up and running. And in that case, I'm sure someone thought it was a great idea to have a distillery in the old Carrick Mill, but an old mill takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So painstakingly, again, before anyone asks, there will one day be an old Carrick Mill visitor centre, but that's taken a long time of experts in rebuilding stone and putting a roof and things on. So there's a stunning brand new roof on the mill, which means it's nearly ready for storage and things. But I'll not get too sidetracked on that, but I'm just predicting the questions based on that. So this was a wing nut with regards to a nut and bolt, which was found in the old mill, and it's a nod back to what the site, it's a bit of a provenance to where May-Lóag's from. And the more we looked at it, and the more we wanted a metal bolt on the top of the bottle, the more we kind of got more into Irish mythology. And this is from the kind of my marketing background of wanting to find a deeper level or a deeper story, because I knew instantly people would ask. So the more we read into local folklore in and around Derrylavin, we got into the story of the Black Ram of Derrylavin, which was known for, or rumored, I should say, to on a night when someone may be coming home from the pub, and they arrived in and they were covered in muck and soaked through to the skin, that their story the next day, or their excuse, I suppose, was that they'd been nudged into the local river at Derrylavin by the Black Ram. So obviously one of those stories that you may or may not believe the person who says that excuse, but obviously rams and horns and things are quite used a lot in Irish folklore, and kind of represent County Monaghan, where we're from, and the kind of the fields and the rolling hills there. So it was nice to produce that hybrid of an industrial past and the rural folklore of the area. So that's where it came from, and yes, with a great deal of stubbornness, we got there in the end, and many 3D printings of how it could look and how that would work, and then many different variations of how you could shrink wrap around the side, to the point where I am the proud owner of my own shrink wrap gun, of my heat gun, because there's one in the distillery, but there's one in my car just in case, because it is a bit of a nightmare. So but it works. We got there, and I think it's a good talking point. So it's totally worth all the technical difficulties you get into with it.
Absolutely. I will just say that if you don't work in a distillery or a bottling facility, you will not appreciate how much work Market goes through, or your team at least go through, to put that together. That's I love it, and I'm really glad it's not my brand. But I have to say, it's definitely not a bottle you're going to mistake for something else on the shelf. Which as a brand owner or a marketeer or a salesperson is obviously a fantastic point. But why don't you tell us about what are we tasting here? What's in the glass here is about? I've never had such a flurry of comments, and particularly everyone agreeing on caramel. And just right here, the nose makes you not want to put the glass down. I mean, that pretty much sums that up.
That's perfect. That's what we like to hear. So what we have, it is a single malt. We refer to it as triple wood, because we've used 3 different barrels. So you'll see a kind of recurring theme, a favorite, if you will, of using these 3 casks. Again, we like everyone in Irish whiskey likes a nod back to history. The old mill at Derrylavin was formerly owned by the Barton family, who were one of the wine geese families that fled across to France. So they became famous winemakers after that. So we do tend to use a lot of Bordeaux red wine casks in May-Lóag, and we're kind of teasing that in. And the very day and the very moment where we are distilling our own spirit, that will go instantly into red wine cask from the Barton family's vineyard. So we are skirting around and toying with that. So hence we do tend to taste in colours, and hence why we went straight in with a red label for this. So you won't be able to see it here, but for those that do go out and get their hands on a bottle, we try to as clearly as possible use a set of icons to represent basically always the distillation method, the grain that goes into it, and then the 3 casks. So we have, I'll read that out. So this is a single malt. We reference that it's triple distilled, and then we have 3 icons of casks, which very clearly point out the red wine, the bourbon, and the sherry. So on that, a lot of people are referencing the caramel. Quite often, caramel obviously comes from bourbon cask. It's well associated with single malts that maybe don't have that extra element of grain that add in spicier notes that maybe cancel the caramel out. So I do get a lot of that on the nose. I think the interesting thing to me, particularly as it's bottled at 46%, which is taking up when you go from our oil, which is our entry blend, it's quite delicate. It shares the same 3 casks. It is a blend and it is bottled at 40%. So we have a lot of similarities in that we're using the same cask, but it keeping single malt, having a bit longer in the cask, and then at 46%. The more you get into the whiskey, the more you get to taste it, and then in the finish, it starts off quite reminiscent, and there's a family DNA in May-Lóag from oil to the triple wood. But then we start getting a lot more complex, a lot more challenging. I know Colin was talking about a not challenging whiskey. I'm glad that we're in this order because this is a bit more of a thinker, particularly in comparison to others in our range.
Well, on that, should we say sláinte and jump in?
Absolutely.
Let's say sláinte.
So what I find on the nose, we get a lot of from the red wine casks and from bourbon and sherry. We're getting all the pleasant sweet notes. To me, it smells like a very sweet whiskey, but then the more you get into it, you get a lot more dryness come through. You actually do get a bit of spice. The 46% adds a little bit of a burn in a positive way. I'm sure whiskey aficionados have tried to find a better way to talk about. We'll talk about warmth rather than burn. So I do tend to find that there's a little bit of that caramel right at the start, and then it takes it more from if we're using red wine casks, I can use a red wine analogy. So it takes it from lighter, fruitier Beaujolais into a more complex red wine. I think the higher ABVs and the longer time in the cask, it started to get really into that cask and take some more tannins and things from the red wine. So that's kind of how I'm getting what I get. We're kind of going from those red juicy fruits, and I think you still have that. To me, you still salivate a little bit, but it just dries to the finish for me. So
I mean, absolutely, that kind of a lot of tannin dryness. It comes through the palate of the finish is quite pleasant, and I find it quite funny. I've worked with people who are kind of wine aficionados, and when I've written copy for different expressions or whatnot, and I put the word tannin or tannin dryness, or the world of wine does not like or at least I've discovered the world of wine does not like the word tannin on tasting notes, but it is definitely a complimentary here. And if you said it's bottle of 46, and what is the kind of RRP and where might people around the world find this? Of course, Irish Malt will deliver directly to your door, but if you're not so lucky to be ordering from Irish Malts, what kind of markets should we be looking at and what kind of price points?
So we come in at €38 in the south, and then it's in around, well, usually retailers in the north have it at €34.99 usually. So we're talking 35 sterling and €38. Obviously, as you so rightly mentioned, Irish malts will deliver. Our initial market
in both jurisdictions, by the way. Don't worry if you're in the UK. Don't worry if you're in the north. Don't worry if you're in the Free State. You've got it straight to your door. That's a
here, yeah. So our key market, we have launched on the island of Ireland as a whole. As you can tell from my funny accent, I reside and spend the majority of my time, although I do travel and get about a bit. I'm up in the north, and Carrickmill's an hour down the road from me, so it's just the other side into Mexico. But we've launched across Ireland of Ireland, so got it properly launched into the north in just before Christmas, in time for Christmas, and then across the likes of Irish Malt online retailers and things. So the start of this year is now that they exist, rolling out into these things called bars that I'm sure we've all missed.
I'm not familiar with this term, bar.
Yeah. So that's the idea in the next while. We do have good distribution partners in Italy and China, and I think another kind of plan going forward is to get into the Netherlands and Great Britain in the next coming months. So that's the focus. So again, with this mad world we've lived in the last couple of years, we've been launching products without having those lovely bartending folk getting to play with them or talk to us about them. Or, as you can tell, we've got what we would count a very nice bottle to have on a back bar, which, if bars are open, quite often there hasn't been such a thing as a back bar. They've been hidden away, or you've been ordering on apps and getting them delivered out to your beer garden. So it'll be good to get this bottle nicely lit up. In between, we managed to do one nice bar event just down the road from Carrickmacross in Dundalk, in a new bar there that some young guys from the industry have set up in Macarra. So we did have a trade launch, so to speak, in between lockdowns or in between different rules and things, but a lot more of those to come. So I know some of the whiskey clubs and things are starting to toy with the notion, or at least hint that there will be in-person tastings and things going forward, at least at some point this year. So I very much look forward to getting back into that.
And a fantastic new bar in the County of Louth, there in Macarra in Dundalk. So and a good news story for the industry as well, and for young publicans.
As to say.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you so much for introducing May-Lóag's Triple Cask Malt. I mean, I think from the comment section, we're seeing a lot of very positive comments about the flavor profiles, the casks. It is I see someone here saying May-Lóag is a great write-up in the Irish Whiskey magazine. So there's reading about you too. So it's 46%. You said it's €35, 36 euros. Is that
€38, 35.
38. So there you go. And is it a 700 or 500 ml bottle?
It is a 500 ml bottle.
Okay.
So that obviously for retail, it probably the reasoning behind that, it speaks more kind of, obviously Colin was talking about getting product into hands at a reasonable price point. It probably makes most sense at the blend. We know a lot of craft whiskey brands struggle to get anywhere near a lot of the mainstream ones. So to us, it was important to get to that point. So we're talking 25 sterling and very low 30s, or around the 30 mark euro for Oriel as a blend. So I suppose the reasoning for the 50 CL means that we do get into that neat price bracket, and it does, like, the bottle does look well. It's turned out well. It is still if you're buying a present for someone or for someone else, ultimately it is the price that matters. And to me, they're giftable looking and giftable price point. That not that you have to give away your whiskey, absolutely buy it for yourself. But if that was a decision made, we saw the bottles and they look well, and it means people can take a chance on a new brand that they haven't tried, and it doesn't terrify them that much, So that was one of those commercial decisions, but I think we're very happy with it. That the more hands and lips we get May-Lóag to, then that the better. So.
Well, fantastic. I very much look forward to getting my own bottle and having it on the shelf. A good talking point, I think, now that we're jabbed, boosted, and our 5G is going well, I might have somebody over to the house for the first time in 2 years. We'll see. Maybe it'll be a nice talking piece on the shelf. So I look forward to grabbing my own bottle, and I hope everyone in the comment section enjoys grabbing theirs, because you will get a discount code from the guys at Irish Malts, the fantastic O'Donovan brothers who run 3 Drams and Irish Malts. I'm just the host. I'm here to talk to fun people like Mark, but it's the guys from Irish Malts who make this all happen, and they will give you a discount code at the end. Have fun, buy May-Lóag, enjoy it, because I know I will. Mark, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you introducing this to us, and previously giving us the sneak peek of the bottle, and now showing us for the whole world to see. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Cheers, Matt.
Thank you. So we are on to our third whiskey of the night. This is a fantastic new brand, Clan Colla, from the Ahascragh Distillery. Gareth's gonna be able to correct me if I've mispronounced this. I tell you what, a fantastic, interesting brand from a man that none of you will know this, but we are neighbors, or at least from the same vicinity as each other. It may not be the vicinity of the distillery, but we are within distance to walk the dogs anyway, if we needed to. So, Gareth McAllister, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on 3 Drams. And yeah, that was a coffee during the pandemic, wasn't? We're in lockdown, and we walked from one house to the other and met for a coffee. Yeah, good seeing you again. And thanks for helping us get some of our Clan Colla into the hands of your audience and customers of Irish Malts. Really appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. Well, that's exactly it. It said there's about every month there's just over 1,800 kits go all around the world. As I said, there's always people who watch back and enjoy and imbibe along with us. But there's tons of people watching with us and imbibing with us now. So we are on Dram number 3, Iver 3. So I'm going to open this up and pour a little bit into the glass. In your own time, if you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, who the distillery is, but also don't forget, I'm going to imbibe along. I'm going to keep a little bit in the bottle, and we'll go do the more formal tasting again. But why don't you introduce yourself and the products, and we'll be able to run from there.
For myself here, yeah. Well, we're a husband and wife team. Michelle and I started the company back in 2018. We'd spent best part of the last 30 years in the corporate world, traveling the world, and most recently living in Shanghai and Hong Kong. And we actually founded the company from Hong Kong. Michelle's love is gin, my love is whiskey. So it kind of made perfect sense at the end of our careers to work together, do something meaningful together with and build something from scratch. So let's talk a bit about Clan Colla, as well. I can talk through it because I'm very curious about what people think of this 11-year-old. So this is 11-year-old blend. It's 95% single grain, 5% single malt. The single malt was double distilled in 2008 in Cooley, and the grain is from Cooley as well from 2009. So yeah. We have a range of, our series is called Family Bond, and that signifies that it is all source liquid. We work with great northern distillers, predominantly Brian Watts and the team there. And Clan Colla 11 was our second product. We brought out a 19-year-old single malt finished in Oloroso casks in June, shortly after this came out, and then in December we launched a 20-year-old single malt with an amber only finish, and that's a cask strength. But back to this, and if you're nosing it there.
I would say I'm imbibing along quietly here. I'll let you speak, and we've all the time in the world to deep dive into this. I'm just enjoying myself.
You have the best job in the world, Matt. Do interrupt me though, but yeah. So more about the product. So it's a heavy grain forward blend. What's probably a bit complex about it is the way we've cast it. Obviously, it started off in ex-bourbon casks for about 8 years. It then went into Oloroso sherry butts for a couple of years, and then we finished it for 6 to 8 months in various peat casks. So we used peated casks, Irish peated casks, and we also used casks that we sourced from Laphroaig in Scotland. And it's all, the same liquid has been in all casks except for the last step where we kind of fatted and blended what was from the Irish peated casks with what was from the Laphroaig finished casks, and that's the finished result. So as you're nosing it, you should straight away get some smoke, and the whole purpose of this kind of blend, from my kind of point of view and probably a selfish point of view, I wanted to create something that was smoky yet sweet. And I think overall you'll find when you get to taste it, like it is smoky on the nose, it is smoky on the finish. There's a wisp of smoke there on the finish, but the taste is quite sweet. You get that in the middle. So I'm curious what people think, but that was what I was trying to create, and I think it did turn out well after quite a bit of blending.
I suppose, what possessed you or inspired you to take Irish peated casks and Laphroaig quarter peated casks and try to take this 11-year-old whiskey that I'm sure lots of brands would think is already good enough on its own, and you're going to stick it into these lovely smoked Irish and Scottish whiskey casks to layer on flavor? What was the brainchild of that idea?
I spent a lot of time out in Asia and traveled a lot to Japan, and I didn't really like Irish or peated Scotch whiskies up until recently, but I really enjoyed them as part of a highball, especially during summer months. So I was, the back of my mind was this would be a great, even though it's 11-year-old, and why would you add soda water to it? But it would make a nice, refreshing highball, and it does. No, it was just basically to try and get smoke with a sweet, finish. We're at the moment we're bonders, we're finishers, we're blenders, we're bottlers in Ahascragh, and you did pronounce it right, Matt. Well done. In Ahascragh, for those who don't know, is in East Galway, just outside Ballinasloe. Beautiful, scenic, small village, and that's the home of our brands. But it was kind of really to, on the really push finishing and the blending as far as I could, and that's kind of, it was experimental. And I think I was very surprised myself how well it worked out in the end.
Wow, fantastic! And you say that Ahascragh is the home of the brands, but it's also the home of your distillery that is under construction. I actually follow you on the LinkedIn, and I love the updates you're doing. You're in a protected listed building, but you seem to be absolutely flying up in there. I always shudder to think of how building in a protected building is, but you seem to have you have the run of the place, and you're doing a phenomenal job refurbishing and revitalizing it.
Yeah, it dates back to 1810 for those who are familiar with the area. It's an old mill that's been lying derelict for more than 70 years. It is a protected structure. It has 4 main buildings in it. We got planning approved last October 2020. When was it? October 2020. And we started straight away clearing the site, doing the enabling works. But then COVID hit and we got shut down for 5 months. All construction was shut down, if you remember that. And then we got back at it in June of last year, and we're halfway through the civil side of it. It's taken shape. People who pass by can now see the difference. They can see like the brew house, the still house. The civil side should be finished by June. The brew house, still house, we finished by June, and then the equipment will start arriving. We hope to have our stills in place by October of this year, get straight into commissioning, and then distilling by the end of the year.
Fantastic. And again, the same question I asked Colin, do you have a sneak peek of perhaps the volumes of the stills you'd be looking at?
Yeah, sure. The wash still is 7,500 litres. The intermediate still 7,500 litres. And the spirit still is 4,500 litres. So the total, on 3 shifts, we can do about 500,000 litres of alcohol a year. 4 shifts, 24/7, probably up around 750,000 litres of alcohol. So it's a sizable distillery. It will be quite big, but it'll be it's also an eco distillery. It's one of our values is sustainability. It'll be completely powered with renewable energy. We're going to use very high temperature heat pumps and a very innovative energy storage system, which is very efficient from an energy point of view. So we do hope the distillation part, producing the actual liquid that comes out of Ahascragh, will be carbon neutral at the very least. So that's a key point of our distillery and our path forward. Also, it's going to be a great tourist destination. We hope. East Galway is beautiful. We're only 10 minutes off the M6 on the way, to Dublin or to Galway from where you're coming from. And we're going to have a visitor centre, and we're going to actually celebrate the old mill as it was as well. We'll have a floor dedicated to the old history of the mill, of the area, and some of the artifacts, some of the old equipment that we actually restored or got from the old mill. We're currently getting restored, and that will be on display as well in the visitor centre. So it's not just an experience to go and see a whiskey and gin distillery. There's going to be a lot more for people to experience when they come to Ahascragh.
Oh, fantastic. And I see Mike D saying loves hearing distilleries talk about sustainability, as do I, Mike. As do I. It's a key point, I think, for our industry. There's a lot of responsibility that needs ownership, but also championing as well. So it's fantastic to hear. I suppose jumping back into the whiskey itself, Clan Colla, obviously we can find it on Irish malts with 3 Drams. 46%. It's an 11-year-old blend, lovely, sweet and smoky finish. Do you have a recommended retail price you can share with us?
Yeah, this is retailing at around €80 at the moment on Irish malts.
Fantastic. Can you show us the packaging? Because it's quite a premium look to it. It's a very lovely shaped bottle, a lovely cork. The actual the label itself kind of creates its own space on the shelf. It's very, very clear, crisp branding. This is again coming from a person in the industry. I quite like the packaging quite a lot. And for you, it must be a fantastic thing to see I suppose the fruits of your labor on shelf now, and in this case in so many people's hands.
Yeah, I mean, I hope people are tasting and sampling it now, are they? Because I think I will.
They certainly are. I'm seeing Elaine here says it smells like a distinguished gentleman whose tweed jacket smells like the cigar he had a few hours ago.
I like that.
It's evocative and perfect amount of smokiness, deep dark fruity sweetness. And Michelle Cafe in Sneem in West Kerry says she doesn't usually like peated or smoked whiskies, but this is lovely. Sweetness comes through and it's a great finish. And actually, she's saying hello from Sneem, and I think there's about 3 other people saying hello from Sneem. And if you're not all watching this together, you should meet up afterwards and have a tash on, because Sneem is a fun small place. So I'm sure you're all watching in a house apart from each other, but so is the world of Irish whiskey. Smoky yet sweet, you nailed it. So I think people are enjoying your tasting notes here. I'm actually, as it is the last whiskey, I usually keep a little bit in each bottle to sample after I'm done to see what I think. I'm gonna empty this in here now, and enjoy this. And do let us know in the comment sections what your favorites were for this evening in order. Your 1, 2, and 3. As I said, taste is subjective, so it will always be different, and we love looking at them. Gareth, if people want to follow you online and see the development of the distillery and I suppose your journey with Clan Colla, what are the kind of social medias and websites people should be looking at?
Yeah, the website is ahascraghdistillery.com. The social media handles are Ahascragh Spirits, but you can get all the details on the website. We also have, the brands themselves, like Clan Colla has its own website, clancollawhiskey.com. Our gin is shingin.ie if you want to get some gin. That's actually Michelle's gin, and it was great. This week she won a medal in the World Gin Awards with Shin Gin, which was fantastic.
Congratulations.
And then we have a new whiskey that we launched in December. It's called Uaish, UAIS, and you can get that at uaishwhiskey.com. But they're all linked to ahascraghdistillery.com. Clan Colla is very much the premium, super premium end. We have a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old as well. Uaish is more on the younger, less than 10-year age statement, and that's currently retailing at about 48 euros a bottle. But Clan Colla is kind of, from a personal point of view, the McAllisters made whiskey in the 1800s, and Clan Colla was its most famous brand back then. This was all around the British Empire and the US in the 1800s. So it was always a kind of a goal of mine to revive it and bring it back. But it was always going to be a premium brand, premium product. And I think if people don't know where Clan Colla comes from, because some of your audience may be members of Clan Colla, you should research it and find out. If you've got some sort of Irish, Gaelic, Scottish, Celtic surname, you more than likely are part of Clan Colla. So the Cullas were 3 brothers who lived in the 5th, 6th century of Ireland, and they actually conquered most of Ireland and parts of Scotland. And anybody who's descended from the Colla brothers are part of the Clan Colla. So our name McAllister, Michelle's surname Colin, a lot of your names may also be part of Clan Colla. Where Uaish comes from, the eldest brother became the High King of Ireland, and his name was Uaish, Colla Uaish. So hence naming the new brand Uaish. That's a whirlwind explanation of Clan Colla.
That's okay. And I'm seeing a lot of people now. I'm loving the engagement now. Seeing all the people dropping in saying what are their favorites. A lot of people putting number 3 as their top. I am seeing Martin saying he's absolutely buying this after the episode ends. Remember, if you are a 3 Drams member, there's a discount code straight to your inbox. It actually probably dropped about 5 minutes ago. Go use that discount code, get your discount, and buy either 1, 2, or all 3 of these whiskeys. And keep letting us know in the comment section which your favorites, because we do love seeing it. It is fantastic, because it is subjective. I'm seeing so many people, number 1 was their favorite, so many people number 2 is their favorite, and again number 3 being a fantastic favorite here as well. And also people dropping in saying they have favorites on the design of their bottles, and also the flavors are impossible to pick. So look, I think it's been a fantastic evening. Gareth, thank you so much for joining us. As I said, in a moment, yourself, myself, Mark, and Colin will all meet backstage. But for now, I'm going to say a very big thank you to you. A reminder to everyone watching that this cannot be possible without the hard work from the guys at Irish Malts, their team there, and of course team at 3 Drams. I appreciate your time. I appreciate their time. Everyone who's watching, there's lots of things you could have been doing on a Thursday night, or if you're watching this back Friday morning, Saturday morning, so on and so forth. I know we have one dedicated fan of Yano in Nara in Japan, just outside Osaka. So I know she'll be watching tomorrow morning. So to her, to your our friends in Brazil, and a few astronauts in Canada who join in as well. I do want to say a very big thank you to everyone who does watch this after the fact. But to our 3 guests this evening, to Colin, to Mark, and of course you, Gareth, thank you so much. I very much appreciate your time. And to everyone in the comments section, I hope you have a lovely night. Thank you very much, Gareth.
Thank you.